Let us continue the survey of Ezekiel 47, chapter 47, that is about the third temple or Beitul Ma'mur, that is at the back of Saqf al-Marfu, and it is not here. And if you find a bunch of Zionist zombies that are planning to make it here, then you know that they are the Church of Satan or Synagogue of Satan or Mosque of Satan. And thus Ezekiel 47, the heavenly heights and truthful thickness or rakab of the third temple or the 2-3 temple mount or Beitul Ma'mur are all wrongly mistranslated as breadths, again because they are the translators of these kind of scriptures are looking at the Euclidean geometries of the material world. They mistranslate the breadth of 50 cubits. However, this is the thickness or the rakab, or the amount that is rakaba, or you mount on something, or you are riding a horse, that is rakaba, or merkabaing, or rakaba, or merkabaing, or flying, or sitting in a flying vehicle, vimana or something. And so this is basically the altitude or the height of 50 cubita, that, as I already said in Genesis 6:15, or also 1 Kings 7:2 and 6, this is the thickness or the height of the Christ portal Prisco porch, that is in fact 5 cubits, the thickness of the molten sea, but it can extrude for the full capacity just like a living organism and reach to 50 cubits by using the 10 lavers and 10 or cures and 10 mekonas. And so that's the influx or the outflux of the central processing unit, or the Christ center, or the Ruhi reactor of the dark room. And that is again 50 cubits. And then or for instance, another example of this mistranslation is that the 3-layer level stories of assembled altitudes of 100 Christian cubits with one romantically sprinkled or mezraq or tazriqat pomegranate portion for each cubit are all wrongly mistranslated as lengths. However, these are the or so on and so forth. But again, this also goes into not the lengths here in the inner courtyard, but here we are talking about the elevation that we are gaining inside the lower heaven, and then we reach to the higher heaven, where the Afanan or Janian or the budded staff of Aaron is. The lower heaven is where it is not budded, although in 12 months in certain time we have the pilgrim from the lower heaven toward higher heaven. However, at the upper part we have the Raqul Manshur or Manshuring, or eagle flying, or budding, or Jaryaning, or floating, or flying. Sufi Sama swirling. That's the Afananing, or opening, or wheeling, or whirlwinding, and fruiting of the tree of life. And so that is related to Ezekiel 42. That in Ezekiel 42, these parts that are talking about the 100 cubits is actually are not talking about the lengths, but it is also the depths or the height. Also, the other point again, we are in the survey of the Ezekiel 47, and so I'm here trying to show you that how by using the not Euclidean geometry or the spherical geometry, we can understand how east is looking at east, or dawning or looking eastward, or Makarnan Sharqiyan, where Mother Maria is going to see the Christ transfigured, or the moon disk, is equal to the moon easting or dawning or adventing upon the Malakuti membrane. The only way to do that is to realize that there is a curvature in the Asserat Street, or the Asserat Bridge, or the double-edged sword that comes out of the mouth of the Christ Lord, or the Ark of Allah. It is that's the curvature of the time-space in the Malakuti membrane. That's what I want to bring. And once the curvature is understood, then we are again we are getting the real concept, the original concept of a white hole, that is or the Christ clock of the night, that is synchronized with the Allahi now, or hall, with the Havilahi firing. And then again, this Christ also, we have this moon disk that becomes the hall, and around this hall, as we already looked in Genesis 2, then we have around him whole of Nar. Then we have the Havilahi surrounding, or the Havilahi surrounding of the Genesis 2:11, and that is the surrounding or whole, or that is around the Christ epicenter. Just as the tree of life or day is at the epicenter of Allahi hall, or the white hole, then this white hole, or this white throne, or this Jasper throne is synchronized with this one. Actually, this one is hanging from that, and then getting time from Allah, and then giving allowing time to tick in the other realm. And that's why we again we've already read about that Havila surrounding in I think 28 or I forgot the verse for it, but here we are reaching to the Tova that we are going to talk about it again. The blessed burning bush, or the burning bosom that we see, then the whole of this burning bush or bosom is where the blessing is, or with the hawlaha, or Allazi barakna ala hawlaha. I forgot which verse it is. And so this point 6, and so just a fast looking at the points. The left hand is lower than the right hand, that in the cylindrical geometry that we are looking at here, that is all height based in the ontological order. The Medading read is 6 cubita, and then 500 of these is equal to makes it 600 cubitas. That is the mohit or habbat or khits of the Jedar, or the wall, that is very important. We call it Khatam Suleiman. That's where the Khatm, or the seal of Solomon, comes, and that's the realm that is sealed, or the outer perimeter. We have two parts of the seal. One is the outer courtyard that is now is going to be given to the Gentiles upon the destruction of the ram of Zulqarnain or Christ, and then after that we have the inner the khatam, and so whatever is out of it, out of this border is khatama ala qulubihem, or they are makhtum, or they are mahrum or harumi, or they are haram. That's the Hiram, where the Hiram is, and the king of Tyre or the king of Zero is. The outside is the zero zombies, and then the inside are the ones that are saved, the ones, not the zeros. They are not moksha, they are not nirvana, or those kind of rubbish ideas. Or again, we call it makhtum or sad. The outside are the mastud, and then we have the sad or the radm. That is also mentioned in Isaiah 19:19. That's where, or Jeremiah 46:10. That's where this will happen. Again, if I go to let me bring Jeremiah 46:10, and then here you will see that there is a sacrifice, and the sacrifice will be by the river Euphrates. That is where the qitran of the Zulqarnain reaches. That's where I will be sacrificed, at the Euphrates level, at the lowest part of the Ulai river. Again, if I go to Daniel, the lowest part of the Ola or Avvaliyeh or the Ulai river, where the two-horned ram is, it is called the Euphrates. The lowest part. We are actually going right into it, and so the important thing about this part, I don't know if I have it here, or I can show it here. Again, these 500 reeds, in fact, we can look at it as somehow that it is being confined, the safe part, but also we can look at it as something that is in fact confining the winepress of Ras, and then outside is where the pottery plane is placed. Either way, we can look at it as the separation line that is preventing or forbidding or haraming or hiraming the outside to reach to the inner courtyard, or we can look at it as the wine press, as the confinement and the boundary of the wine press in parable of Matthew 21:33, that is full of the Krishna, Karachi, and queer cockroaches all together cramped in there, defying God and law of God. And then outside is the vast pastures where the sheep are basically spread in the grasslands and are under the moonshine, or the wheats are growing in the field, and the wine press will be threaded. And then in a way we can look at the wine press as a spring of the mud, or dark mud that is coming, and then the potter every once in a while gets a chunk of the pot, makes a pot from it, and then place it on this place if he wants to put a wine in it. And then he is baptized with the Bismillah blood, and then he is placed or she is placed as a wine pot in these felukai film. And so that wine press can be looked as a whole with 12,000 cubita periphery, and that is precisely what we read in Revelation 14. If I can find the Revelation 14, here it is, precisely talking about or no, that is not here. And it can be looked as again periphery that is separating. If I bring this is the King James translation of the winepress, the great winepress of the Ras. This winepress of Ras is again, as we already read here, as also 34:14. It is mentioned as the humiliating punishment, or the winepress of the Ras, that Dabbat al-Arz is supposed to tabayyana, or make it show the bean or the sad or the separation between these two parts. And that is again where the Azab al-Mahin is separated. That's the winepress of the Ras, where the Maghzub wal Zalin are placed, or we can call it the Shinari sand dunes around the ground that is Hideke Jeljelation, or the ice ground, where it is cooled, and that is the Scarlet Sea of the hot heated sex, and the Har, or the void. And this is the stabilized place that is Hidekel Jeljuld, with the cry of the Christ mothership, or Ummul Kitab. And that is how it is being sustained from not sinking into the lower into the void, or basically is hanging from that. And so let me, yes, so that, and then the important thing about this confining boundary is the important inflection point. There are again many other names for it, but I'm going to kind of use it through the rest of the witness as the inflection point. And then the inflection point is where the river or the mercy of God, when we say kursiyuhu samawat wal ard, or sorry, when we say wasi'a rahmata kulli shay'in of Surah 40 verse 7 or something like that, that the mercy of Allah is encompassing everything, or basically the Christ moon shines, or portal periscope porches doubt, and then moonlights it, or misbah sabah it into the entire dark room. And in fact there is no dark place for the Christ, that his one of his legs goes into the deep sea, as we read in Revelation 10, and the other one on the dry ground. And so everywhere is blessed with the Barukai blessing of the Christ, because every place has a top, has a king, or Malik of the hell. Even the darkest and the coldest level of the hell is in fact under the river, that, as we read in Ezekiel 47, we will read about it in verse 7 and 8, the river that goes into the wilderness. And so the river is going into the wilderness through, I think we have it here, and this inflection point is what we call it as the khur in Ezekiel 8, or khur, or maftuh, or fat, or the door, or the opening, or the bab, the Baha'i bab that opens to the hell gate, or the as we read in the we call it Ludda. Here, the hostility, the gate of Ludda, where in Honey Hadith of Revelation, in one page, where the Gog and Magog will come, and then and also the war will happen by the Yadroko and the Bab al-Ludda, and that's where the Christ kills the pig, or the swastika cross, or Barack Baboon Obama at the Bab of the Baha'i Bab of the Ludda, or the hostility, or that's where the Hanuman will be killed, the flying orangutan, the flying King Kong. Also we have it again in Revelation 16:2-12. That's where the gate of the Ludda is, right by the great river of the Euphrates. After that, once the river is dried, and the six poured upon the vial upon the Euphrates, and the water was dried, and then by that the king of the east, and again the big of is the Helios, or the antelope, or the antelio, or the antelope, or the Gotamai goat of the hellhole inside, into which, or the dark mud of Surah 18 verse 86, into which the sun is coming, and with all of his heavy cavalry. And that's where the HaMongog play. That is the HaMongog slaughterhouse of the Barack Hussein Obama, murderer of Holy Spirit on earth. And again, the real Zalem that is not committed to the heart of mankind, and is stealing everybody in his delusion of defying the Asuras, in his Devilish delusion. And so again, that is called the Lord of hostility or jealousy. And so that's where Christ will Yadrokoho, and then Christ will completely dark him, and then understand or encompass the entire black hole of this vanity viper, and then will terminate him. And so this is Hor, or Maftuh, or Hor, or gate of the Lord, is where my pot is placed, or that is where the two-horn ram of Daniel 8 is placed. And then the first point was that this inflection point, or the Lod door, or again, it is a water gate. Here it is, as we read in Ezekiel 47 verse 2, or 8 verse 7, 5, 8. This is the water gate toward the salt desert sea. And so we can say this water gate, once we reach to the water gate, to the downstream, then we can from the water gate, we can look into the desert, we can look into the profane Sahasrara Suharaj of the Krishnai cockroaches. Or from there, instead of looking outside, from there you can go from that water gate that the water goes out. Here it is in a big place. Here in the inflection point from this river, this is the rod of God that goes into the wilderness. This is the sapt of God, or the Shibat of God of book of Psalms 23 verse, I think verse 7 or verse 4, I forgot. This is the sapt, or the Shabbat of God. This is the light ray that goes into the darkness for any kind of pottery operation, for treading the whatever is out there. Or this is the wind of the east, that we read in Matthew 24:27, or the lightning of the east. And so from there, instead of looking outside, we can go and look back at the upstream, and this looking is looking east in the Malakuti membrane. However, the more we go toward the east, the more we are going to follow the curvature of the Malakuti plane that is being lifted by the mercy of Sha'a'irullah, that or the emergence, the iridescence of Christ's disk, or the Misbah soap, or the morning dawn, cow of morning dawn. And then because of this curvature, we are kind of looking up, or he is looking down at us. Again, east is looking east. That's how it is happening through the spherical, or this is how the crossing of the bridge of the crossing will happen to eternal life, or falling into eternal damnation, or the mistakes that we are making in basically by the mind, and then the hair sex with the base consciousness that is given to us. And so this inflection point, this lot door, or the water gate toward the Salt Sea, is very important and is used in different ways again and again. When Arash Kamangir, or Arash the archer, or Ishmael the archer of, I think, Genesis 22, or no, I forgot the yes, I think is archering in the wilderness. When you want to throw through arrows into different locales of the devils in the wilderness, in the garbage devaraka city of the devils, or the hippies, from the satya loka to deva loka, different levels, whatever lake or loka or lodge you wanna aim for terminating these maggots, you can do it through this lodda, or the gate of the war. Again, nothing happens to this except this dig or dogged opening, or maftuh, or naqban, that we have it. Again, then only when Allah allows this, it will be perforated. The megadam will be perforated, and they cannot overpass it. It can be only penetrated, and then Allah welcomes the burning mans, and then the cockroaches that are queer, priding and crawling, the victims of the Dracula that are turned into zombies and have received the commands of their oppressors, and have become enslaved in their sins, and are loving their sins, and are proud of their slavery, and they don't see it as a slavery. That's the sad part, for which I'm crying for 4 years. And so that is how it continues. They are going to come through this Naqb and then attack to the Assyrian land when the decree of Allah comes, and then the Euphrates is dried. And so again, with this Naqb, the air ventilation, the Sabaoti, a storm, or the wind, or the Tufan, or the iron rod, Ra'adullah, or the lightning will happen. Here are all the ones that we already went through it. And so the number 6 was the rubbish representation of the third tertiary temple, or the Amor's house, or the Asura tree, also we call Surah Imran, or Beitul Ma'amur, or Omr, or Amor's life and love, or the house of eternal life. That is the third temple, or the temple of Solomon, and it is not here. That's where he took his lovely queen and aviated, or avainad, or heavened, heavened, or avaina, which means flying, or Isra soared together, cruise up there. And then we talked about I think here we have, yes, the representations. I said that they are not again in this geometry. It is still the same slide. And okay, so from here we I talk about the fact that the breadths and the lengths are not basically breadths and lengths in Euclidean geometry. In spherical geometry, there are altitudes, and then the curvature that you are gaining in the cylindrical coordination system of the heaven, where the right is higher and the left is lower. And then the point 6 is that the outside wall, or the khitan, or hayat, or hite, or khitson, or tier in English, or qir in Arabic or Hebrew, in qir, that we read in Ezekiel 42 or 8. Or the وَجَاءَ مِنْ أَقْصَى الْمَدِينَةِ رَجُلًا. This Medina, or the Aqsa, or the utmost farthest part of the Medina. This is the Medina. This is the place of the people of Deen, or where the pots are placed in Qarar Makin. Again, that's where again, that's in Revelation in one page, or in other places talks about me going out of Medina and then going toward the creatures of the Dajjal, the victims of Dajjal, or the slaves of the Pharaoh. Pharaoh loving, oppressed, raped mentalities of a reprobate mind of the Rama Remfan. That's where it is called as the utmost, or the end boundary of this outer courtyard. Where the Radman of Surah 18 verse 95, 94, 95, 96 are placed. And so this the outside Qir mega dam's inflection point, or Lod, or the door, or the sweet water gate, the water gate that the water goes outside into the wilderness, or into the desert, or into the sea, salt sea, toward the salt desert sea. Ezekiel 47:8 is where the Sheba Sita, queen of Sheba Sita, or the convert queen that was a slave, Saba or Sabi means the queen of the slaves, or the Sita, a queen by the salt sea, or of the Shat, is coming and then converting and then becoming the queen of King Solomon Soleimania. And then over there, or even the Tot, or the Hupu, or the Hudhud, that's where they are coming, or the Varun Baruna. Varuna is coming from the, or the Hermes, or Harut. He is coming up from the 3 levels of the Zolamat, and then reaches to that level of the dry land, or the Hiddekel glacier iceland that is coolanted and stabilized, the Qarar Makin, where the pots are placed. And then over there they are looking from outside, they are coming, and then from this gate they are looking at Solomon, who is at the back of the Christ disc, or the mothership, or the UFO, or the flying disc. And so that's where they present themselves to the king of the Medina, that, or the watchtower in parable of Matthew 21:33, that is at the center of the garden. or the tree of knowledge of good, or the good straight as Sirat or Chinut Pretum bridge. And so whether Queen Sheba or the Toad Hoop or Hot, they came eastward out and as you can see in these two verses, from the west wine press, or the Azabul Mahin, that's where the Shayateen are, or the Vanara jungle of the lawlessness, where the law of jungle is making drones and killing the saints of Christ and then calling them terrorists. That happens. And so we can say about this Watergate Bab, or the Bab Loddan of the damn Lod hostility, the inflection point of the Malakuti membrane, which is turned locked, tied, twisted, as for now, by the Christ Karimi Varte, or the Varata, or the Ritra, or the vortex in English, or Varte or Ritra in Sanskrit, or Varte in Arabic, Persian, or the Tovad, Tudadan, or twisted in English, or tied, or the Taud, or the pass that is towered. That's it's kind of referring to the Tova, Twist, Tie, Towered, or the truthful tower of Matthew 21:33, or the Buruj of Asura 85, the 12 constellations of the eighth sky, of this 144,000 cubita high up, hovering above the death. Or the Mashkatet, or the Shakvat, or the Shekatet, Mishkatet, Nietzsche, denounced, withdrawn, flying, or aviated, or why not, is basically has Tovat, or that's where the Tura Tova, or the tourist is coming, or abstain, refrained from fallen field, or the false form of the field, or the condeliberated curvature of the bloated Buddhic abdomen, or the pure energy. Nothing is in there. There is no meaning in there. All that it can do is to follow willingly or unwillingly the moon rises. And so each moonrise, each Big Bang follows with one moonset, or the basically silencing of the bang, and allowing of the Arab, or the Qurub, Rabul Masharq wal Magharib, to happen. This is for the Gharb, or the Western wilderness. That only after Gog and Magogian yogis were allowed to come out of the Rama Ramfan rat hole, as we read in Book of Acts 7:43, and eastwardly cross the pivotal point of this Tova twisted part, and then of the inflection point, then the zero, the infinity for them, the recycle bin inside which they are, or the wine press of Ras, then it will open into the Vuji vagina, the real form of the Vuji vagina that they still don't know, or the real Gaia Galilee garden, or the Gaia gap, or the jaw. And then the real Gaia will be shown to them, the Gaia that we read in Asura 50 verse 30, and that is called the inflection point. Then and only then they will see the real, as you can see here, the real chin, or chane, or the syncline, or the crease, or the flexure, or the furrow, or the fold, or the abysmal four below. And so again, in Persian, in German, or even in English, we have the chin, chanem. Now, Which one of these two are being used in the Chinook-Preton bridge that we read here? I don't know, but I can say that both of them are working, because the Chinook-Preton is coming from two parts. The Preton is parto, and parto means bridge or beacon of life, of light. And so the other part is the chin, and chin means picking or channel, like the syncline, crevice, like when you put food in your mouth, we say that the mouth is chinning or taking the things inside, like a pelican bird. And that is precisely the concept of the grabbing, chinning, churning, and so synclining. And so part of it is that the churn is or the hole is engulfing, and other part is that the street or the straight is passing from top of the crevice or the syncline, or the Christ anticlines on top of this syncline, and then whoever is supposed to be able to cross the straight bridge, they can do it. Otherwise they fall into the abyss or the abyss or the vanity void, or the second death. And that is what is called as the Alpha Omega hellhole, or the Akashic Akas inverse below. And so that's why we can say that we can inverse this exponential curve of the spherical geometry into a logarithmic or ln natural Neperian curve, that in this curve again they are the inverse functions of each other, and in the Akashic space we can look at it that the Christ is looking at east, or the east, or the eastern gate is looking at east, and then which is in fact, because of the curvature, comes down into the Malakuti plane. And then Malakuti plane, once the tilt is increasing, then Malakuti plane is getting more and more looking upward. It depends on the amount of the angle of the tilt and the rotation in the plane of the experience, in the soul, in the plane of the spiritual experience. And so in this way, east of the plane is looking upward, outside of the Malakuti plane, or orthogonal to that Malakuti plane. And again, these two are kind of the inverse functions of each other. And so that is the real syncline, or the crease, or the flexure, or the fold, or the abysmal for below. That, like Akashic inverse below the anticlined Christ mounted the 20th mount upon the 19 iron angel mounts, or the 10 mekonos and the 10 cures, or the 10 lavers and the 10 bases. And the 10th one is the 20th one, or the Taha, or the head mount, or the head tour of the other 19 tours. These are the 19 mountains that entire space of the Gaia, or the entire space of the Vajrayana void is confined in them, and that is what we call it as the bottomless pit. And that is how the entire Alpha to Omega hellhole is connected. And so this is the frightening, the tricky part, that whatever garbage Pharaoh, fart, or the Buddha is giving to his maggots, it is inside this limited space of the Sahasrara, inside their rat hole. And over there they think that they have reached to the infinity and they know the facts of the Gaia. However, once at the gate, the iron dam is opened by the inflection point, Then they will see the real Alpha to Omega, that is Christ is talking about. Again, Kalamatullah wa hiya awliya. Then they will see that how awliya is this, and how deep is the Omega part, and how high is the Alpha. And then they will see that their Pharaoh was nothing but a little prick to which they were dancing around its Shiva Lingami erection, and then running feminism and rubbing their feminist delusions into that ultra masculine symbol of male dominance of the Baal, with plenty of Shakti Sakat Shikutsi energy. And so that's where the real Alpha to Omega hellhole twist will be untwisted for these maggots that are coming out of the recycle bin, and then they will see the real operating system, and then the entire platform upon which the Christ computer is vortexing or vortexing or encompassing by means of these 19 iron angels. And so the solar lunarly eclipse anticlined Moonbook Mount is yawning, or is yearning to engulf or chane or the chin or pick up them doom into her sync-light sphere is in 5030. It is talking precisely about that, or the Emra'at, that is the hell lady or the second wife of the Christ Malek, and that the second wife of the Christ Malek is again the Emra'at. And so what we are going to read in the next verse from Ezekiel 47 is about fly source sailing upstream. Okay, so from here what we are going to do, so what happens in the first two verses of the Ezekiel 47? In the first two verses, the Christ is taking the prophet and is bringing him into his back, or where the Solomon and then the queen Sheba Sita is reaching, and then looking at the tree of life, and then the conversation that we already read. But after that, and after giving homage to Allah Creator, and then doing a Sufi Sama and enjoying, and then to going to the zero gravity, and then fruiting, and then they get to the business of this worldly thing. And so then Christ from his back brings the prophet in to the time again, and then from there he takes him out all the way to the inflection point, or the Lod gate, and then instead of looking outside into the wilderness, log number 11, number 13, and having a survey into the wilderness, or into the 7 mounts of the mini wine press, inside which these cursed Krishna scratchy cockroaches and the creatures of the abyss of the Ezekiel ate any kind of despicable and abominable creeping creature, and the cockroach, scorpion, reptile, tarantula, you name it, are of these the ones that are crawling in the gay prides, or the ones that are Yugi Boogieing, or the ones that are running the CIA, the UN, making whatever garbage they are doing in the Jinping government, or the Vishwarupai government. They're all outside making fun with the toys that Harut and Marut have given them, or Tat and Mat have given them. And so From there, this time, instead of having survey into the realm of the Nephilims or the people of the field or the giants of the Ganesha elephant, we are looking back, and this survey that we are going to read after the Ezekiel 47, after the first two verses, is and in the continuation of the first two verses from verse 3 to verse 7 and 8, these are the survey of the outer perimeter. And now from this outer perimeter we are going to reach up, go up, not eastward, although it looks eastward in the Malakuti plane, but the more we go eastward, the more we are looking up. Or in other words, we are going to look upward, and then more upward, and then more and more upward, and then the very, very upward type of thing, to reach all the way, go up, climb the bridge of the crossing of the believers, that they can Hebrew or Isra, Sor, or the Obur, Hebrew, Ebri, Abar, or Obur to the other side, or to the Akhirat, or to the eternal life. And this survey is for this part. And so this is the rest of the Ezekiel 42. Again, Ezekiel 47, I deliberately pick it up because Ezekiel 47 from here is literally equal to Genesis 2 verse I think 10 to 4, 11 to 14. The four rivers, or the series of the four Noah's nasal skies, or that all together makes this سقف المرفوع or سماء الدنيا. And so the next verse is from Ezekiel 47, is about the fly sword sailing upstream. Okay, now we are going out, and then we are looking eastward, or in other words upward, depending on which function we want to use, exponential function or the Neperian logarithmic scale. Okay, and so through the psychographical profile. And now again, here we want to make a profile or the survey of the inside. We've already done the very inside, and this is the outer courtyard. Now we are covering the outer courtyard, the Qarar Makin, or the Assyrian land. And so the psychographical profile of the proto or parto or the proto-mahi beam, a beacon bridge of Colossians 1:18, or the lower Asirat street that we read in, or tree of knowledge of good, or the top tree, or the cascade of the Christ cascade, or the Christ rainfall, or the waterfall, or the lowest heaven, or the double-edged sword tongue, who is moonshine, Sina, Susan, sunshine, Susan, the into the Chinvat, Chin, Chane, I Pretum, or again into the second wife of the Hosanna husband, or the form of the good, and his second wife is the Chinut, or the Chin Chane. Single and Galilee, Lilith, Lalita, Lail, night, hell, night, T, or the sinner picking pit, Chin, abyss, valley. And the last point about before going for the survey, in other words, after the eastward crossing of the pivotal hinge of the Risaki bin or the Hirami, or the Khatam Suleiman, Khatam ala qulubihim, when that of the inflection point between these two parts, the Magogian yogis, once they are allowed to make a naqab, or to go through the naqab and the lodvar, and then come into or have an encounter at the Hamon Gog or the Hamon he filled. Then the monstrous Magogian yogis will realize, although it will be too late for them doom, that why the Christ, the Karim, or the 20th mountain, or the Mount Taha, or the Asura 52 or Asura 20, or the 20 faces Sultan Ravana, or the Malek al-Mawtahi, master angel of Hades and this, or the iron angels. Okay, that's where the Hades, or the sea, the salt sea, is inside these 9 iron angels that are the ultimate, the real alpha to omega, or the 10 levers and cures, is called to Tova twisting tower. That's why they will realize that why Christ is called the Tova twisting tower well, or the normal vector, or the retro vortex of the mammary plane, or the normal vector, again the mammary plane, or the membrane, or the place of the obur and murur and the trafficking. Okay, then they will see that what it really means, because these Hamanahi, humani, Adamai grounds that are thinking the Brahmins, or the Barhamin, or top Brahmins, or Brahmanic maggots, or the masters, or Latihan giving, Riki giving, chimpanzee gurus, are gods, because they gain elevation. They have no idea all they are gaining is a little bit of extra altitude into different devalokas, from the lower parts to the higher part. We already have done the survey of those 7 cities, 7 districts of the Devaraka city of the devils. But once they come out of this tight loop, then they enter into the real void. Okay, although the UFOs is working perfectly fine in the Vayu void of this Hanuman, however, that is the false Vayu void, and that is the scary plan that Allah has prepared for these maggots. It will be amazing, welcoming, and a state-of-the-art extermination of Hinduism and Baha'ism together, flushed down into the excrement hole from which they have already come out. Let's see, maybe somewhere around that, maybe. Yes, okay. So we will all, later on we will get into it, but let me go fast. ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون. Okay, and so if we would, we could obliterate their eyes once they are released into the real Chine, or the real Chine of the Chinut Peretum. Okay, here the all of these Burning Man and Sodomite and reprobate minds that are loving the one that is raping them and enslaving them, once they are exported out in from their cozy, like the jailbreakers, then here there are again the jailbreak plan is already defeated, because again the Hanuman is actually is conducting an insider job. He's actually working for Allah, and so like he's just giving them more asteroid so that they can think that the prison break plan is working perfectly. However, here the 19 prison guards, the real prison guards, are with maqam min al-hadid, are waiting for them. We will read later on how the Christ Mithras king, or the Mehr or Quran Qamar Munir Mehraban, or Mitra Mehr Madarane, the seventh month of the Zoroastrian, and will obliterate the forces of the false Mitra, or the Leon Tosophilus, or the lion of the dark Durga dragon. Again, we have two Mitras, okay? Just like the Christ, we have one Christ and one Antichrist. And so here it says that and so their eyes will be obliterated and they would race into the past. Now here is the interesting, in the street from here, from the inflection point to reaching to the eastern gate, coming up in this path, this is called the street, or the bridge of the crossing, or the chinut. This is the pretum, okay? The parto, or the beacon of the mothership is coming to here. From here it is only darkness, unless he wants to send his ray to do whatever he wants to do in there, okay? And so once they reach into the street or to the bridge of the crossing, or the chinut pretum, then that's why it says that and they would race, or they fastabaqus sirat. Oh, now what does that mean? In two phases Allah will obliterate these maggots, as we read here, that are silenced when they are the kings are butchering the Palestinians, and they are giving money into them instead of going and blowing up, sabotaging their military and exploding their equipments. That's what you can do. Or like, as if you think a Yahudi soldier, you are working in the army of the Israel, you can become one of the members of the army of the Christ, or Sayyid Khorasani, Sayyid Yamani, by blowing up and killing your army man, or treacherously, and then you will be killed, or you will be martyred. Or you can blow up whatever you can find over there in the equipment, or coming and giving your information and joining in the army of the Sayyid Khorasani and Sayyid Yamani that will attack. However, the thing is that when Fastabaq Sirat is happening, then if we come to the Zechariah 14, here we can see that it is talking about the fact that, or Zechariah 12, I think, yes. Here it says that, and the governors of the Judah, this is the Sabt of God, or the Shibat of God of Psalms 23, or the 144,000 pomegranates, or the mini UFOs that are all chained up to each other, or as we read it in Revelation, they are the birds of the mid-air. And then the governors of the Judah, like Imam Hussein, Sabta min al-Asbat, like a heat of fire among the wood, and like a torch of the fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour, inshallah, that's how the iron rod of the Christ shepherd, these pagan pranks of the hellhole, or even the worse than the pagans, the Muslim, the Christian, and the Yahudis that are hypocritically working and serving to them. Again, when I'm using a pagan is just like the currency of the base currency of the hell. But again, much worse than their level is the level of the people of the book. They are sharrul bariyah. They are the hypocrites and munafiqun. They are the ones that are looking that or saying that we have something to do with Christ, but they are actually backstabbing or Judasing or treacherously. And so anyway, the kings, the governors, these are the priests of the Christ that we read in the 1,000 years. They are going to govern for 1,000 years upon the earth. Yes, so here you can see that This is the first resurrection. Blessed is the one that are coming in the first resurrection, and they sit at their thrones, and the judgeship was given to them, and the souls of the ones that are beheaded, and they came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years, or again about less than 24 hours. But again on beta brainwave state, okay, where one night can become equal to 1,000 months, and so 12 of those, half of the nights, a third of the nights, about maybe 4 last week, 3 days, or the last day. And so here these governors of the Judah are working, or the 100, or the sapt, or the chainsaw of the 144,000 diamonds that are embraided to each other. Then Christ, or the Mahishasura sword, is gonna have fun with this magazine, the same way that they've been massacring the Palestinian ships of Allah. Now بچرخ تا بچرخیم. You Israeli Zionist piece of filth that had nothing to do with Israel. You are the false Israel. Okay, so فاستبقوا الصراط. Now Allah is here. This is the one of the first mechanism. In this part, Allah allows them to فاستبقوا الصراط, so they are allowed to race into the past. And Christ says, I am the past. Okay, so now Allah here wants them to come. So Allah allows them to come, or basically by means of the Christ Mothership Command Center, Christ is allowing them to come. And so like the tennis ball, you let it come to your racket, and then you shoot it to go to a level of hell that the ball was willing that it was never being hit with that. In the same way, God wants them to come into nice, like these are the cavalries, these are the Atef crowns, these are the very frontiers of the search. Okay, whoever Allah selected, they think that they can come up. These are some of the UFOs of the Beelzebub. Okay, some of the what do you call it? Some of the drum circuits that can reach up, and then they are allowed to come up. And then the ones that are allowed to come up, then they will be pressed down or smacked like بیا و ببین. That would be awesome. And so that is the أشداء على الكفار. Okay, and so that is the فاستبقوا الصراط. Okay, now فاستبقوا الصراط, and then ولو نشاء لطمسنا, and so they will be blinded there, or they will be pushed down. So how are they going to be pushed down? By the 10 mekonas. Again, the mekonas are giving positive pressure. Part of that pressure is the positive pressure downward. Okay, so pushing down. And then also with the 10 levers, or the 10 cures, or the 10 kuras, and then the 10 kuras will pull them down, and so they will be smacked and pulled down. They work in tandem together. In the Akashic space, we don't have one force, vector force. They must be coupled. Okay, so two at one direction, aligned with two forces. That's how they're going to be. Let them come up, and then plum. Okay, that's one. Now, and if we wanted, then we would have deformed them, or mask, or they make them freeze into their places. Okay, or paralyzing them into their places. That's what I want. And so this is the second phase. So the second phase is that, like again, the in this way they are فاستبقوا الصراط. They are being allowed to have raised, and then they will be smacked down. Okay, and so how they are going to be allowed to go up? They are allowed because there is no energy, or there is no motion, or there is no yes, there's no motion or the vibration in the real alpha to omega unless what Allah was, and that's why again walau nasha, and if Christ wants, then or Allah wants to get his Christ to allow them to come up, then they will be allowed to be pushed up. And so with the 10 levers, they are going to have the negative suction upward, and that's how they are going to be raised. Again, quickly going to, I'm branching from here to there, but it's okay. You will get it precisely, because here, as you can see, everyone will have a driver or the sa'iq. And so this sa'iq, every soul, these are the UFOs or the souls that are, or the merkabas that are coming. And so this driver, the sa'iq will happen by the 10 levers pulling you up from the Dead Sea. That's how the soul, the Dead Sea, will give up its dead, as we read in Revelation 20. That's how the upward motion will happen. Now let's go back here, and then we see. And so when wants them to race and come up into this space, okay, in toward the inner courtyard to reach to the Christ Eastern disc, the door disc, then for this up, again, this is upward, like it is not horizontal. When it is coming up, going up this side, then they will need two force vectors. One is the levers that are pulling up, and then also the 10 mekonas that are allowing them or giving them sa'iq or pushing them up. And so pulling up and pushing up also happen, and then they go up, and then they will be smacked amazingly. And so the next one is what? And law nasha lamasakhnahum ala makan. And so for many of these, they are not even, they are so despicable, like that. They don't even, they are not even worthy to be touched by the 144,000 diamonds of the chainsaw of Allah. Okay, and so as for these are the basically the maghzub, the followers. These are not the heavy gurus. I mean, the gurus are made like the again here we read that old birds of the mid-air. These are the 144,000 that are coming to reign. Okay, these are the, and so gather together for the feast of the God, that you may eat the flesh of the kings. Okay, these are the kings and the generals. Well, this one is not actually in this color. And so the kings, these are the excrements that are coming, and the flesh of the mighty, and their horses. These are the Persian cavalry, okay, riding on them. And so these are, and the free of every boast, free and slave. These slave ones, these are the rubbish hippies, the followers. These are God even doesn't use any of these diamonds to take care of this. They will be freeze or paralyzed. Okay, here they will not be even allowed to have sa'iq. They just come a little bit up from the Dead Sea, and then they go back to the Dead Sea. They are mokshad already, they are liberated, and so they go back to their liberation, having fun with their liberty lady. And so that is called فَمَسَخْنَاهُمْ عَلَى مَكَانَتِهِمْ. How do you masakhnahum, or paralyze them on their place? With two force vectors down, levers, or the 10 cures or the kuras are pulling down, and also the 10 mekonas of these 20 faces, or the 19 iron angels of the 7430. They are also smacking down. We already, I think here is read, we have the two vectors working up. The 10s are intaking or sucking in, whether in By in, I'm talking about in any kind of motion in the middle of emptiness or nothingness is going to happen through these. Whether God wants to rise, Hebrew someone, and then you go into the heaven, you will be sucked up, as well as being pushed up, okay, in order to reach there. Or if someone is supposed to be pulled down and then pushed down, that will happen to them, and that's how they're going to be لمسخنا لمسخناهم على مكانتهم. That's how they are going to be freezed into their place. And these are the two major mechanisms that all of the UFO army of the Beelzebub, or these Merkaba, Mageti Merkabas, will be ICX Nika. Now they have time to go and gay pride in their sorrow rat hole. They see the beauty. Many of them, the ones that are Masachna, they are the Maghzub. They are, and they see the God and they say, that is awesome. You want to get there, but you are paralyzed, you are frozen, you cannot get up. Because there is nothing in you, there is no value in you. How much blood, how much wine is in your pot? Nothing, zero. How much Eucrates you had? Nothing. What have you been doing? Gay priding. What have you been doing? Worse than gay priding. Making a gay church, or bringing that damnation, that sadness into the church of Assyria, into the land of marriage, into the house of safety, amen, immunity, امنیت، آسورا، سورسات و سورس شادی و ازدواج و مزدوج، zigzag زوج، shoulder to shoulder, coupling ازدواج, not like two whores, two lesbian whores, or like two filthy guys, gloomy guys together, that kind of anomalies, or you name it. Also, they are not salamat, they don't have salamat and health. They are in the 3HO, happy healthiness. For them, the shakti shikutsi sagati energy is healthy. Just give me energy, I want some. I am a zombie, power hungry narcissist that I want a little bit of shakti sagats. And so that's how they see, and then they will say, that I couldn't, I'm masakhna, I am paralyzed, I cannot get up. These are the maghzub. As for the zalin, the ones that are pretending that they are sleeping, you cannot wake them up, they are actually in adversary, they are grudging again, they have the spirit of the Samael, they are hostile against God, and they want to revenge or damage, and so for them, they are the gurus, the kings, and the mighty yogi guru bugus. These are the sadhus, and or the Kabbalists, or the Talmudic writing yogis, and the Nephilims, the giants, or the people of the field, philosophers. They are the Ganesha, wise elephant writers. These are God wants them to come up and then shack. That's what happens into this animal again. So these are the two modes that they will be in a state of with Sabt of God, or the Shibat of God, or the 144 governors of the Yehuda or the Isra. They will be exterminated. Okay, so and over there they will see that's when they will realize that what's the meaning of when Christ says, I am the this and Hades and life again. That's where they will realize when they will do they don't will come out of that mammary plane and then reach to that, and then they see the real Christ anticlining or mundisking above the syncline or his second wife, or the chane or the chinut pretomi hell crevice, that is as we read it before. Here she is saying his Galilee lady here in 50 verse 30, she is saying, or the Lail or 81:17, Galilee lady Lalita is a night. She's saying, is there more chimpanzee or Vanarai ape for me to swallow into my chin or gather, collect them? Give me more Yugi Boogies. Shishakimi, 6 horny double Jian Mudrai maggots. And so that was the case. Okay, again, I'm not hating these maggots, I'm hating the maggothood to which they are dharmaing. Okay, I'm hating their dharma, but again, the dharma is their choice, and so you have made your choice, I've made my choice. And so Ezekiel 47:3, and then that's the freedom of choice, which is very respected. And again, the best one of us that is respecting that is Allah. And again, in Surah 41 verse 11 is perfectly talking about the free will, how it is apportioned throughout the creation. And when the man that had the love line of the 6 badal bedelium converted cubitas, okay, this is a blessed badal bedelium cubita, or also again, this is the line that we also read that is given to Zerubbabel in Zechariah 4. In his hand, this is a measurer, fellow brother of mine. In his hand went forth eastward. Okay, so from here now we are coming out and then we are doing the survey, but here we are we are passing through the straight from the Lod, from the ground zero toward the Deidor disk, Eskatani Deidor disk of the 7 heavens. This is basically rise into the 8th heaven. And so that's how we are going to have the survey for the Assyrian land of the vast pastures full of the sheep and the green grasses that can be only killed under the title of terrorism. That's the only way that these maggots can terminate them, or bringing peace and safety and security and human, gay, homosexuality right, whatever hell that means. And so in his hand went forth further eastward toward Sharq, toward the Shriek, toward the Christ singularity, that is Bakaraing or Bakaraing, or the Sharq Shirikin, or the Makan Sharqiyan, where the mother Maria went, and so that is called Sharqiyan or Sharaqain. This is the looking east, which is in fact looking up. If you want to look at the tilt of the plane, or if you want to look by the progress inside the in-plane progress or the out-of-plane progress. Both of them are happening together. And so they went further east, eastward toward the Shaq Shriki Qadim, that we read in Ezekiel 47:3, in the Qadim or Qidma or Qadama, or the anticline, or the blessed footstep, or the cascade that is coming and he madada measure stretched 1,000 Christian cubits, and he brought me or cross paths me, or in other words, this is the Hebrewing, or going and walking over the toward the other side, toward the Akhirat, or toward the moonrised mothership. And so this is the Abara Obura Hebrew in crossing this void. You are going right in the on top of the chin of the Chinut Pretum. You're going right in on top of the syncline, and there is nothing in there to keep you as the crossing that is happening to you and me, and so that is the Abaring or the Hebrewing. Through the first phase, and so here we are going to through the 4 phases. The first phase of the first solar highway, this is the highway that inshallah is going open by the will of Allah for the believers like Sayyid Khorasani to evacuate the Gog&Magog infected earth. And so the first phase of the Chinut Pretum Street Bimbikan Bridge, or the lower Aserat Street, or the double-edged sword Varada Yarada entry voice, or the water wind way, or the Krai Qara'ad Ravana Ron Rain river road of Jericho, or Rucht, or moon faced or faced at, or the counter-ethereal cascade waterfall, and so this is the first part of it. And the water were up to the ankles. Again, this is not the physical ankle, this is a spiritual ankle. Okay, this ankle is the depths and the profundity of Isahi Euphrates, the Euphrates that we in Genesis 2:1, or even Jeremiah. The lower part, that's where I saw Christ at transfigured Christ, with the Moses and Elijah, he basically, and Imam Riza and Imam Hassan and Imam Sajjad, all the beloveds all together, as well that are Allahumma with Allah, or the burning bush, or the eternity, or the future light cone. Okay, that's where we are headed, the Eskatan ni Isa Masih. And so Sultan Ravana Sambara, or Messianic Mahisha Surah. And so the lowest part of the Euphrates, we can look at it, that's the depths of the ankle, is the depths of the heart picture that is being filled, or the nous, mind, that is being filled. And so that's the level that I've seen. I can say that maybe it was in the tilt wise, if I want to talk about it, that I can say that it was like the 10-11 a.m. of the midsummer type of sun elevation, maybe like 30 degrees or something like that. I forgot the name for it. We have it a couple of slides ahead, the English word for that angular rise of the sun above the mashriq or ishraq. How much is the mashriq or ishraq? That angle. And so again, this is the 4 discrete stages of the tilt of the plane that we Prophet Ezekiel is using it as ankle. He's not the only one. Now I'm going to show you that other Sufi prophets have been using the same system, and that system is the very well-known system. All the students of the Christ class have been using that. I'm actually kind of bringing contemporary terminologies for that to make it more tangible for the anti-mankind. And so in other one, this dua, depth, profundity, height of the anchor is the scope or the grasp or the ambit range of the remembrance or the extent of the ethos, ethical exposure of the black film to the lily lens or the aggrandisser machine or the print light and print lens, light giving flashing lens, or the vertical reach receptivity, openness to the eternally moonrised Messiah who has morning dawn advent ایستاد عن فوق فوقها بالأفق المبين تبارك من فوقها. That's where the fawq is or the pegah is. Pegah up top of eye, me, dead, earth, eye, ear, hole, nothing. Nocturnal amnesia, a sack of neural brain waves or nosy mind that the best it can do is to manipulate the nature and say, oh, I'm conquesting the nature, but again it's just trying to discover what Allah has already made, and then bringing that supernatural aspect out of the nature, and then talking about Advaita non-dualism. That's the level of retardation that the dead amnesiac mind can have. Or the inasht, which means loving or nosing or intaking or unsing or minding in Hebrew something. And so this is the scope and the range or the exposure of eye or the near down sama ad-dunya est six-psyche sky on hellhole desert, or the S negative field film Dead Sea. And so that's the amount of the exposure to the moonrise or the moon sighting. And so again he medad measure stretched 1,000 Christian cubitas further east, then we are going further east or further up, and brought me further west, or we are going for another tilt, another extra tilt, incremental tilt, and brought me or dipped me or cross, pass, go, walk, Hebrew, abar, obura, me through and over the second flood flashlight phase, or the second solar highway stage of Chinook Peretum Paratoi Beam Beacon Bridge, or the lower Asterat Street, or the double-edged sword Varada Word Voice Water Wind Way, or the Kabud current canal conduit of charming Karim Korom Charisma, or the Quran cry Qara'a Ramad Ravan Ran Rain River Road, or the after Jericho, or the rocking, or the facing, or the looking, or the foreheading forefront moonshine shower, or the counter ethereal cascade waterfall. And so this is the street that we are passing. This is the crossing of the bridge of the destiny with the scale of the justice that we are passing, and that's through the street. And so, and the water warda, or the logos lamb laita love laita of Allah were to the knees. Now we are from ankle we reach to the knees. This knee is the depths and the profundity of the Isahi Hidekel Dejel Dijila Jel Jalaisha Jolge Chil Chul Kul Jeli Jalaishara. These are all the names of the gel. And again, this is a good gel. We have it the coolant one, and when it is not dehumidified or deglacier, then it becomes deglacier or degel or digill, which means hot, or digill or dajjal or dejilled. Okay, the Dajjal or the Dajjal means basically a scarlet beast, Aruna, hot sexy beast, Barack Obama of this wasted Magogs. Optimus Primus, this chimpanzees call it, the god of the CIA, and MI6 and the Xi Jinping communist farce in that mass graveyard. That in solar series of the Qatar ethereal floodfall or the waterfall or the cascade of the Chil, Chul, Kul, Jelly, Chiris, Krisma is one level above the Euphrates. In other one word, this duahi depth, profundity, height of the knees is the scope, grasp, ambit, range of remembrance, or the extent of the ethos, ethical exposure, or the fulfillment level to of full moon disk face of the Jasper rock roch Yericho Richo Roch Arach Ruch Ruch, or the spirit or the rock, or the male remembrance rock, or the Isahi ecstasy, or the moonrise messiah. On Fok Foken Fok 4110. Knee up top of me, the dead ground, or you, or all of us together, nothing, hollowness, and this Dead Sea, or the eighth sky, the Sama Adonia, the near and lower psychic sky, into which we have the cascade of the 4 levels. Again, he medad ink measure stretch out another 1,000 bedelion badal bedela, he converted cubitas further east. We are going further east. Further east, in fact, we are going further up, reaching further height. Okay. And brought me, or cross Hebrew abarah me, through and over the third tier jelly flash flood phase, or the third solar sail highway, a stage of the Chinvat Peretum Partoi Bimbiken Bridge, or the lower Asirat Street, or the double-edged sword Varada word voice water wind way, or the Kabudi current canal conduit of the charming Karim Korom Krisma, or again this voice fan, or the Varad entry into the darkness, entry into the Sama Adonia. That's why there are a little bit of a red Holy Spirit shine inside the darkness here. And then the Kabud Koromi current canal conduit of the charming Karim Korom Krisma. Here we are receiving more and more charmingness, enchantedness, dreaminess. You don't enter the kingdom unless you are a drunk, dreamy child. Then you can enter into the dreamland. If you're a sober adult, relativist, or the heliocentrist, or you name it, evolutionist, or the homosexualist, or unconditional lovist, or capitalist, or the communist, and you name it, you are too adult, you're sober, you're not charmed, you're not enchanted. You must be charmed, Karim, Korom, wine, baptized olive oil, and then you can enter, or I can enter, or we can cross. Hebrew abar obur, pass on the Chinook Peloton Bridge, and that's where the or the street, As-Sirat Street in English, or As-Sirat. You can look for the As-Sirat if you haven't so far. Counter Ethereally Cascade, this is the another, and the water wine, or the red Haimo, or the Hemo, Hauma, Haima, he blood of the lamp in Revelation 1:5. You can read it, 5:7, 7:14, 9:13, or the Yasna number 9. All it is about the Hauma, or the Homa, or the Homeo, or the Yash number 20, blood brook of the Christ Karim. And it was wear to the loins, or the waistline middle. This loin, or the waistline middle, is basically is the depths, or the profundity of the Isahi Jihon, or Jigan, or Jakon, or jaculation, or punching out, or the gushing force. That is the solar series of the counter-ethereal flood, flash, fire, water, Fala, is one level above Euphrates, or Hidejeli level, and so now we are incrementally have raised one more layer, one more degree, or we deviated, our standard deviation is coming one more unit out of ourselves. We are more and more losing the ego, and then we are forgetting the amnesia and the forgetfulness, and we are getting to the remembrance. Here we are basically that's a very holy level. And so the other one word, this du'ahi depth, profanity, height of the long waistline middle, is the remembrance rate, or the truth tally, or the grace gauge of the rozahi ra'sul banah, nest of the moonrise. Now ra'sul banah is more and more is rising to the midday position, okay, that we are looking at, although at this stage it is not still there, okay, but the curvature is now going higher and higher, and or the moonrise headstone, or the Jasper rock, or the midday door disc on Fagfogen Pegafgahi up top of my nocturnal nose, or amnesia, or the nuance, and then the near and downest six psychic sky on hell whole desert, earthly negative film field feluca of Dead Sea. As we have listened in prophetic poema, and again and again، آب جیهون از نشاط روی دوست خنگ ما را تا میان آوید همی. Again, the prophetic poem that I'm talking about it, you can read here from the Master Rudaki. It's a very famous poet. بوی جوی مولیان آید همی، یاد یار مهربان مهر میترا آمد همی. This is the real mitra, or the mother, or the mehr, or the mattering love, el rechumi love, that is coming from the book of life. زیر پای پرنیان آید همی. Here آب جیهون, the water of the جیهون, from the nishad and from the happiness of the ruy, or the ruch of the friend, or the visage of the Allahi friend that is being shown through his tajalli television screen. خنگ ما را تا میان آید همید. And that آب جیهون, or the water of the جیهون, reaches to the midst of us. And again, that is what we have already look at it. I think I can bring it quickly.
Without a college degree, I was just fighting.
Let me see if I can find it somewhere. Here. آب جیهون است نشاط روی دوست دنگ ما را تا میان آید همی. So now it reaches to the loins and to the waist, to the middle. That's how the water of the jihun is coming, or jiqun, or jaculating. Jihun in Persian. That's the jihun or the jihun that we say. Or again, in this another video also we have it as the jihun. You can in another presentation of this amazing song. به جیهون از نشاط روی دوست هنگ ما را تا میان آید همی آید همی. That's the ab of the water of the jihun or jihun. آب جیهون از نشاط روی دوست هنگ ما. Our water skin or heart picture is being full up to the middle. آید همی آید همی. That's where the awliya, that's where actually the very high levels of the awliya or ulai level. That's now we are reaching to shagir awwala, or basically to the best of the best. Like this is for the in the awliya wa suhuf al awliya, or the primary or the first ones or the number ones. Now we are, the more you can pass the bridge of crossing and then reach to this high altitude of middle. That's basically for first graded students, high grade students of the Christ class cup, and that is called again Abi Jihun. Or again, this lovely brother of us is talking also about from the happiness of Asura. He assuredness, happiness and joy of the Christ is giving life to the this, and that's how the rejoiceful is coming. And again, the adversary that is jealous and is hostile, as we read in Ezekiel 8:7, all it has is a little bit of orgasm to give you and to steal that joy from you. That's why they threw phosphor bombs on you. They extinguish you in Kosovo, in Srebrenica, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, or in Sabra and Shatila massacres, or they call you terrorist, or they must make false flags, and they come after you, or they turn your churches and houses of the Holy Spirit into gay clubs, only because of the fact that they don't have this nishat. And the nishat is alacrity, or the spirit, or the exuberance, or the gaiety, the spiritiness, fidelity, vivaciousness, the effervescence. That's the what these sober maggots don't have. That put branches into their fingers and talk about evolution and refrain from receiving the nashat of ruhedus, or this water, and the name of the water is the breeze. Now our lungs is receiving nafakht min ruhi, or the breeze of the air, or the Allahi air from the Christ. That's how man is getting more and more, receiving more and more remembrance ruh. That's the ab jihun that is coming from the Mahisha Surahi Isa Messiah. And so that is called the jihun level, that is being ejaculated from happy remembrance rock, or the Ruh full moon. This gives face appearance of the Christ Prince friend. That is in fact actually showing the Allahi friend, the real Yar of the Jerusalem. And also the hemistich 2 is talking about the fact that it is yusqaing, or irrigating, as in Genesis 2:6, or the Tabrizi birisaing, or nafakhtu fihe min ruhing, or come adventing up to the middle, mean loin, waistline of our stupidity, or the vacant, or the void, or the cheng, hafit, nest, or the nose amnesia, or the sky, or the bustan, or the garden, long pot, water skin, cheng, the vacantness, or the void, again the half-fitness, which exactly matches the measurement dot gauge tally range of the Master Ezekiel. Again, Master Rudaki and Master Ezekiel, both of them are talking about the same measure, and for the Maratha miyan, to the middle, to the miyan, or mean in English, miyan in Persian, in Farsi is coming, and so that is the level of the, and so it's almost a half of the sky is the level of the profound depths of the Jihun, or river, or the Jihun level of the bridge of the crossing, or the double-edged sword of the Christ, which exactly match. And so we said that. And so afterwards he medad measure stretched another 1,000 bedeliumly converted cubitas further easta, and it was such a deep, steep slope, stagey ravan run rain river, or the Nachle Nahal, a palm shaft, or the high Kavercher Creek, that I couldn't cross or pass over, or the Hebrew Abar Obura. And now we reach to the ultimate part, that is the force flood flashlight phase of force solar storming highway stage. That's the solar storming highway stage. That's the stage 4 of it. Or the Chinoot Pertomi beam can be reached, or the logos luminosity is so high. And so the now imagine that Johannes has been the apostle that puts his head on the bosom, reaches a little bit of higher than this level, and than this last level, and or the lower Aserat is 33 or the nakh, or the palm tree is we are kind of reached to the end of it. And then or the double-edged sword voice, the kabut, current canal, conduit of charming and charmness, and the karim koromi, drunkenness, or the anointment oil receiving, or the wineness, or the Quran cried river ruh, or the araqi ruach raka, he or the Kauthar ethereal cascade waterfall, because the water, all of these are the same names for the Asirat street bridge, or the Boazi passing the Boaz pillar, or gaining elevation through the Boaz pillar, or the Jericho Ruach river rod, because the water wars were risen up, or jahed up gloriously above my hollow head. And so the this head level is the depths and the profundity of Isahi Pishun, Pishan, face, push, portion, Feshan, Pishan, face. See, that is solar series, that in solar series of the Kauthar ethereal water is one level above the Jihun and Kulant Hidejali and Euphrates. In other one word, that this love light full luminosity level, or the du'ahi depths, or the exposure index to or of the Munra's Messiah is whenever the palm, or the pot, or the pit, or the pitcher, or the urn, or the cauldron, or the castro, or the negative film, or the nocturnally amnesia, nuest, inash, nuest, nest, or the nearest six psychic sky. Here, above hellhole desert, and on the Jasper solar ceiling is fulfilled with Haomahaimahi blood vina. To the head pot brim, or the fog fogenahi up top. In this loveless level, that palm pot nose is fulfilled to its head pot brim. We can say that the Mahishasurahi mothership, Mount Moon Deidur disk, has ruached up to the central midday, or the 12 noon, in the moon disk, Bakaraing, Big Bangs. Or it is, or he is completely sharq shirik ishraq, up in the center of your garden, of your newest mind hole, lead position of the galley gardenic night, which means that the earthly eye, ear, has been gracefully allowed to Hebrew abar walk and cross the Asirat street is sword, or in other word here, as we read Fastabaq Sirat. Now we have raised, or sebqated, or crossed, or Hebrew obud, or crossed the Asirat, or street, or the tongue tool of the Christ safely, not to be smacked down, but this time the benign and friendly for the pilgrim, Haji, or the Hajj, or the person that wants to have been hugging whatever cross has been downpouring. They've been hugging. That's the meaning of the hajjing, or the needing. They've been desiring, they've been wanting, and they've been loving to have anything that comes from the legacy Allah love Lord, that the capital Logos that gets his Logosy lamp to photo flash into the darkness, dark room, and then you're hungry to see what Allah has written you, and then you read that, and you put the bigotry aside. And so wherever it is, you go after it. Archaeological findings, or even Holy Quran, or even in Master Rudaki's poetry, or even in Ezekiel, in Hebrew, in Greek, in whatever. That's the real alchemical value that is not existing in any kind of human man-made artificial art or mental artifact or whatever garbage. That's precisely why the offering of the Abel was accepted, but the genius inventions and the Hare Krishna creativity and the rubbish ashtray art of that jealous Cain was rejected, because that was mindful, the other one was heartful. And so means that has been gracefully allowed to abar Hebrew, the Asirat, Striti, sword, tree, river, bridge, cascade, course, you name it, many names for it, and all of them are actually very pertinent. Palm tree trunk, that this is the tree of knowledge. Okay, so that means that now we have reached to the lamp lens, or the misbah, and reach to the swimmable. After that you can let go of the ego, or I can let go of that ego and reach to the fanus fana, and reach into phoenixization and complete obliteration of the ego, and becoming one with the face, inshallah. And then you will be able to join in the coming extermination ceremony of the for the extermination of the Hamon-Gog, or the Hamon humani ground that is infected with Gog or Ajaj, or the dehumidified or desiccated dried gel, or degelled, or dechilled, or decooled, or the superheated, or the nuclear meltdown that this orangutan has created, the smart as King Kong of the end time jungle. That is that the owners and the gods of its World Health Organizations are the designers of its coronavirus, that is only made to target the anti-Israeli move of Sayyid Khorasani and Sayyid Yamani. That's it. And the collateral damage is not a problem for them. That's the level of the retardedness of these reprobate minds. Anyway, to Suim, and now we have reached at this level to Suimable, or the Sor Israelable, or the Sufficeable, or the flyable, or the teleportable, or the direct underneath, or the moon rock faced down below of the ecstatically embarking mothership, or the messianic moonbook. And that is why in this solar stage the water wine word brisa cannot be passed without complete this neck break, or detachment, or the disconnection, or disentanglement, or pull out, or the disengagement of the externized ego eye ear, or the warmoth heart balloon from my its our Hadesi hellhole, or the abysmal anchorage, or in other words, the foot washing will happen. The sole of the feet of the governors or the priests of the Israel are detached from the ground. That's, I think, what we've been reading in Yeshua 3. Yes, and then the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of the waters, and so they were dipped into it. For the Jordan is following all the time of the harvest, and so that is where they are dipped in it, and again that's where all of that deepness is only for the ankle level, but again when we reach to this level it can be detached, and then the foot washing can happen completely in the molten sea or the marve, not the safa or but the marve or the marmaritos or marmar or morvarit, or the bowl, the higher cornea of the sweet ocean. You can be teleported basically into the back cornea. And so underneath of the Isahi embarking mothership, messianic mother, and this is why the solar yes, here disengagement that or the ego is or the Warmot heart balloon from my or its Hades abysmal anchorage. And so we continue to read that Ruhi Ravana Ran Rain near River Rhoda was so deep that he couldn't be passed over by Dharma holding to soily ego wings or the Talaria sandals of Vaida and Pingal or the energetic Merkaba, and his water wine Vorda was deeper enough to the Vinga or the fly Suima or Asira or Isra Sora or the Sufi sail up a stream or embark into the book of life or go for teleportation to Portal Periscope Port Chahi, Christ conduit corridor that is as high as 5 to 50 cubita depending on the situation. Amen. Ya Allah. And then thumbs up. That's where the vista that you are going to see, and then you are going to see your creator, and that will be the zero gravity, and you will lose yourself. That's the Sufi Samai ecstasy of the Samaing, or hearing the Hashem of the Shamaim, or the capital Logos of the Samawat or the Shamaim, or the lowercase Logos that is with the capital Logos, and the capital Logos was God, is God, and will be the only one God forever and ever, not the one that is with him. In other one word, in this solar stage we can see that the pot pit picture, which is firstly fashion formed by righteous hand Christ, all of these verses for him, of Allahi Potter, is secondly fulfilled in 4 levels. Boop, 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 boop. Genesis 2, 11, 12, 13, 14. From this case, 14, 13, 12, 11, and then you're fulfilled, or Ezekiel 47, verse 3, 4, 5, 6, and then with the Homa Mahi blood red wine of the La ilaha illallah love light liquor of Allahi purer عدل كأسا ولا منها and then is the thirdly purchased and pull out of and then teleport picked up by Allah He purchaser, who has found the preciously worth wine worth the pot to be fulfilled with him holy self, or the him لغت logos self, or the him true self, or him حق حقوق خکک self. And again, that is how that basically you can go up. دلم رادی از گاه ها کرد، هوای غمت شور به پا کرد. And that's where again in other word when اللهم ارزقنا و انت خیر الرازقین is happening. Oh Allah, feed us with your love lighter, that you are the best of the feeders. And so Hali Elohi Mahing pot pitcher is fire fed, or the wine word worsat up to its head or the brim. Then now that is fulfilled, then all that Allah does is to buy and pick it up for his solar selection. And so he is the pot maker, he gives value to the pot, and then he takes it up. And the pot making is the ihdas, or the that happens in Hades. And then after that is the reason that the pot was made, and the reason for that was to put blood in it. Otherwise you're not crazy to make a pot and then keep it empty. And so that's where the birthright comes, and everybody is receiving it, although so many are not realizing it. Just as that what the blessing it is to be able to use the language and talk as a human. And then after pouring, the third part is to buy it, and then he says that the pot is full of him holy self, it's full of la ilaha illallah, love lightly Quran, and then say, well, this is a worthy, and then he will buy it again. The worthy is him, the is Allah, the buyer is him, everything. And if it is empty, then he tosses it into the potsherd, into the construction pit, to the pottery plane, to the pottery pit. And so this pick-upping phase, which is one level above the Pishona, is called swim, sail, soar, sold, flying, upstream, or ulaying, or ulaying, or awlaying, or the soulful awlaying, or the higher, or the prior, or the former, or the ancient, or the first, or the more primordial, or the Eden earlier. And then here you reach after the head, you reach to the olai, and then you're good for the to be. And the heart pressure is dipped in the blood, it is full to the brim, and then the pitcher is tossed aside, and then the wine goes, the sweet water word goes into the ocean of the La ilaha illallahing lives of the eternal life, or the ones that are worshipping the holy Ilahi Allah, the holiness, not the profane, the good hukta, the good humata, the good hukta, and the good huvarshta, the good deed, the good thoughts, or the good intention, willpower, the good word, and then the good deeds all together. And he said unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen this Asirat profile, or psychographical psychography of the street, Asirat street river, Street River Road. Then he brought me and caused me to the blessed brink of the Asirati River Road. Now when I had turned, behold, at the Mahishasurahi, blessed blank of the big bank, Bagara, the Ravanahi, around Rain River Road, were many blood baptized and truthfully Tishteriatira trees. These are the green trees. These are the living trees, Muslim, Christian, Yahuda, Zoroastrian trees, on one side and also on the other side, on both sides of the Ulai River.